Hello, welcome to Legacy Stories with Marija. She's with me, and Coua. We are so excited to be bringing you a podcast episode today about being present, what that means, how that plays out in our life, and really how did we grow up being immigrant children, seeing that play out like with our parents and our surroundings. Anything to add to that, Marija? That you like in addition?
Yeah, no, I like that intro. I think
Good.
being present is like, it's important. Also, it's talked about a lot.
Yes.
Yet I think a lot of people don't, like, including I did not know what the heck that meant.
Yeah.
For a really long time. I'm like, everybody would say, oh, just be present. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, be there in the moment. I'm like, I am. But when you don't know, like when you don't understand your thinking and like the part of you that's like inside constantly talking, I think it's just like, what are you saying? I am here.
Right. I think that's such a good place to start too. Like, I have very clear examples of when I'm not being present. Like my husband will totally call me out. I'll think it's like if you look, like I'll just set up a picture, right? Like in the kitchen, my husband is cooking. I'm sitting at the island. He's trying to have a conversation with me. And like, I'm not even on my phone, right? And it looks like I'm being present, but I'm not. Because he'll say something to me and it's like, it just doesn't even register. And that's because my brain isn't even like tuned into him. Like it's off thinking somewhere else. So physically, I'm present, but mentally and emotionally, like I'm not connected to him and what he's saying to me. And then another example is I was at the dentist's office this morning with my son. And it's like, I just noticed myself, like I was sitting there, I'm in the same room with him as he's getting his teeth cleaned. And I kept noticing myself wanting to take my phone out to play with it. But it's like, oh, wow, like, let's just like actually be present here so that you can like see what's going on. And in case she has any questions, you can just answer them versus like trying to like do whatever you want to do on your phone. But I think that's like my battle, right? Like my brain always wants to be occupied. Like it doesn't ever just want to be like fully present in whatever circumstance is happening in front of me.
Yeah, I think that's like in general, like our brains, that's like their superpower and like their curse, right? Like our ability, and freedom of mind. We can think whatever we want, but we also are thinking nonstop mostly. Now, I am very present with things that I personally like and enjoy. Like if I'm building a Lego, I'm there building that Lego, right? If I'm talking about somebody about this work or coaching, like I'm present for that. And then also I notice that many times when there's two times in my life that I know I'm not present. Number one is like when things are not interesting for me. And number two is when when it's emotionally uncomfortable for me. Your thoughts create your feelings, like that part we clean up, but like like when stuff starts coming up and it starts creating emotions that are not comfortable, I just like to not be there.
You like check
and
out.
I have really early figured out, like, give me something else, entertain my brain with something else. It's kind of like almost like a survival mechanism, like, and not being there. It means not being there with the mind, not like with the situation, but not with the mind. And then, so it happens a lot. Like, how often do you think you kind of like get out of it?
Like out of being present or like getting into presence?
How often do you think you're actually present? Let's do that. I think that's more a fair question.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. I feel like that's so hard to answer, but I'm going to answer it this way. Like I'm present when I am intentional about it. Like right now, me and you having this conversation, I know it's just podcast time. So I'm really present right here in this moment, having this conversation with you. But it's the times when I don't set the intention. And it's like, I see how sometimes that can get tricky because like, you don't always have that moment to set the intention because things just happen sometimes really fast where it's like, oh, I didn't get a chance to say, oh, I need to be here. So I feel like my next level is almost like just like that's just a part of who I am. Like I want to build it into like a part of who I am where it's just like, yes, I'm able to just be present in whatever moment it is that is important for me. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I get it. Like everybody knows. Like I'm on a trip, right? And I told you my intention is to have fun. And like the
Yeah.
first leg of the trip was easy because it was all new and unfamiliar. And also there was no stories I had about that part of the trip. I had nothing like in my brain about it. So
Yeah.
I was either meeting brand new people, connecting with them, or taking care of the kids who were like
Mm,
being busybody and being kids. So like
yeah.
I was either present with my kids, making sure that they're safe, that they're entertained, that they're not being troublesome, or I'm
Yeah.
present with the new people. So I feel I'm more present there. Now I've come to my family and my side, and I
Yeah.
feel like my attention is like everywhere, right? Like it's like
Interesting.
my brain has like, everything brings up old stories and old
Mm,
memories, and then like
mm,
that those stories take me out of the moment, right? And then
mm.
also um kind of like, so I have both like that distraction of the mind, and then also like the stuff that's like kind of painful that comes up. I want to just like
Yeah.
not be there, and I kind of, it's not
Oh,
intentionally getting away, but like,
yeah.
you're like kind of getting, I know what I'm doing, but it
Okay.
doesn't mean I stop. It kind of, I think being present is almost like that. This is how our brain works. We're never meant to be fully present, right? We're never meant to be like in meditative state, like fully aware, like we're touching the flower, right? I think it's like kind of like coming and going. It's like that 50-50 of life where it's like, okay, we're present here in this moment, and then something else happens, and then we're back, and we're like,
Yeah.
I'm not too into like, oh, I need to be, but I totally agree with your intentionality, like
Hmm.
setting up an intention that is like, no, I want to be here with my family now
Yeah.
and enjoy this and see my kids enjoy it and everything.
Right.
And I feel like that is like an intention that I kind of set, but it's been hard to keep.
Yeah. And I want to touch on that a little bit more too, because I feel like I set that intention with my family too, even just on a day-to-day basis, right? Like again, at the dentist office, it's just wait in the waiting room. I see my son playing with a puzzle, and then it's like I'm on my phone. And then in that moment, I'm like, shoot, I don't want to be on my phone. I'd rather just be sitting by my son playing with this puzzle, like present with him for his appointment. But to that point, I think it can be very difficult for us to be present with our families because they are the people that are closest to us. And I almost feel like that, like for me, that gives me like that kind of like leeway where like, oh, they'll still love me even if I'm not fully here. So I can, that it's like, giving myself permission to not be present.
Yeah, I hear you. And also, it's another thing. It's like, if you're like mom that's a lot with your kids, I don't think it's kind of like feasible to be there always with them. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
go a little nuts because
Right.
they're there all the time. Like, and also we need downtime.
We do.
We really need downtime. And I've noticed
Absolutely.
being with kids for a month before we went on vacation, I was home with kids, and like I really wanted that. And also I noticed I beat myself up about it later, and like, oh, this is not, I don't want to do this. Like, this is not how I want to play this game. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, let's be present with them. But then if I notice that I'm like, oh, I'm not present, oh, I should, it's almost like, you're supposed to do the laundry, and you're supposed to do this, and you're supposed to pay bills, and you're supposed to do the business, and you're supposed to, whatever. And then you're supposed to be with the kids, and you're supposed to, like, there's
Mm,
like a list.
yeah.
So it's almost like sometimes I'll be doing something else or need a break, and my brain's going to be like, well, we should be spending this time with the kids. And it's something that the brain does. And even here, I'll take a break and my brain's like, you should be here with your family. And then I'll go to be with my
Yeah.
family and something's gonna come up and I'm gonna run away, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
take a freaking break.
It's like, yeah, something else that's on the chore list or the to-do list.
Yeah.
It
Or
feels
yeah.
like that. But then it's like, okay, let's change that perspective a little bit. And then I wanted to talk about oh my gosh, I wanted to talk about something and now it slipped my mind. I hope it comes back, Maria.
So
Oh,
while it comes back, it
it
didn't
came
come
back.
back.
It
Yes.
came back. It came back. Okay.
Good.
I was
Yes.
I wanted to say that I feel like the level of my presence with others, it has so much to do with like how present can I be with myself. You know, in those moments where it's like it is my downtime. Okay, it is my me time. Like how present I with like what's going on in my body, maybe even in my mind. Like how can I really actually quiet myself down so that I'm actually hearing what the heck is going on? And that correlates so much to how present I can be with others. So I feel like if we haven't mastered being present with ourselves, of course it's going to feel like disjointing when we're trying to be present with our family.
Yes. Okay. You hit a nail on the head. It's like I was digging for something on the inside and it was not trying to come out and I could not like, it's
Yeah.
like there's something bubbling, but it does, I don't know what it is. And you
Yeah.
said it. Here's what I've noticed
Okay.
doing the coaching for myself for the past
Uh-huh.
3 years and learning how to be nicer to myself and
Uh-huh.
speaking nicer to me and being gentler. I have become more present with others because I'm not in my
Mm.
head thinking they
Mm-hmm.
look better than me. Oh, am
Mm-hmm.
I saying the wrong thing? Oh, I look horrible. Like, I'm not having that mental drama. I am there having a
Yeah.
conversation with a friend. There's
Yeah.
no like additional commentary because I've learned, like, I'm enough. Like, I'm okay with how I look. I'm okay with like, just less drama in my mind. And
Yeah.
I think being a parent has additional drama that's it's not just
Absolutely.
like it's that what you said, like it's the chore list, it's being a
Yeah.
mom, it's being a wife, that there's like I think there's the next level that we being able to rest and being able to be okay with not getting all the work done and all the chores done, or
Mm-hmm.
having kind of a schedule where um when you have a schedule and you put things on the schedule and you respect it, and it's
Mm.
kind of like, and then it's time for the family, it's okay, it feels okay to be there because you've respected your schedule and calendar for everything else. So
Mm.
it's like when the chore list comes up, it's like, no, that's not even on there for today. Now it's family time, right? Like now it's
Yeah.
me time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally am like so happy that you said that now.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Like, how did you experience like being present or like seeing presence growing up?
Okay, so until age of 6,
Yeah.
my dad recently said, like, this is where you grew up. Like, let's like this. Our house is right there, literally. Like
Oh,
that's the town behind
so
me.
cool. Yeah.
We're on a little hill, and my dad was telling kids how this is where I grew up, and I'm like, no, you're
Mhm.
wrong. I didn't grow up here. Because we grew up living with my parents were building this house
Yeah.
up to age 6. We moved when I was 6, so I could go to school at 7. That's when they finished the house. I grew up with my grandparents' house.
Yeah.
Um, like a hill in between mountains, right? And it was me and my brother, and everybody else was adults except when our cousins visited.
Mm.
And it was a little bit of a tough life, and we also had fun and a blast, but we grew up with adults. There was no TV, there was no like some radio or something.
Yeah.
We had to entertain ourselves
Mm-hmm.
growing up. So the presence was there in a sense that, like, finding activities that we enjoyed, going for nature walk and all of that, like, watching sheep with my grandmother and everything. But
Yeah.
according to everybody, I was a very busybody. So I was always
So
moving. I was
funny.
always
Yeah.
trying to entertain myself. I was always
Yeah.
doing stuff, right? Being in motion. So
Yeah.
I remember going to school. I just wanted to make friends and everything else.
Mm.
But being present, I have not. I've seen people be present with the work that they do.
Hmm.
A lot of females did like needlework, which required a lot of like
Yeah.
um, attention to specific
Yes.
details when they were, but also if you learned how to do it, you could let your mind wander. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like for some people it will be presence, for some
Mm.
people not. And I observed presence in men who did like again, it's like the work that they do, it
Mm-hmm.
can require a lot of presence, but then on the other flip side, when they figure out how to do it, or it's something that they can do mindlessly, then it's totally like
Yeah.
a type of drama, mind drama. And
Interesting.
I remember being bigger, and I definitely used MTV, and like we had like by then satellite after the war, everything, to
Yeah.
escape, and books. I used to read a lot of books, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it was my own escapism from the mind. I
Mm.
also did sports as kids, and that was
Okay.
a way of being present,
I love
because
it.
I could be very present with my book, but I was not present in my life, right? I could be very
Yeah.
present with my sports when I
Yeah.
did karate as a kid, and I was really present in those practices and all of that.
Yeah.
But then again, like you were escaping, it was present in those activities was the escape from my own mind. So it's
Mm.
very interesting, and I'm just finding a lot of fascinating stuff being here and things coming up for me. And yeah, but
Mm.
I don't think culturally, except for people who, for example, more religious, or people who pray a little bit more, who really pay attention to prayer. I don't think culturally we have a lot of that mindfulness built in. As I said, every work, like work that they do in the fields and everything, it requires attention.
Absolutely.
And when you're walking on the field, you have to pay attention. Like, there could be a snake, there could but it's all the
Yeah.
stuff that like your mind can take over. So there's
Mm.
not like a necessarily a practice that I've like observed growing up and being like, oh yes, this is a mindfulness practice or something.
Mm.
But
So
daily
good.
life could require all of your mental presence, and then also on the other hand,
Present.
you could totally I remember my mom doing some needlework and then just like diving out of it, being like totally freaking out and worrying about stuff. And I was like, wasn't that supposed to calm you down?
That is so
No, wasn't
funny.
that supposed to be relaxing?
So funny.
Yeah. How
So I
about you?
have,
What do you remember?
so with the needlework too, like my maternal grandmother, she lived with us. So I agree that like when she was doing her needlework, like that was her being present with that activity. Like she loved doing it. I have very fond memories of her, like just sitting by the window because couldn't see that well. So she always needed like bright light, and that she would wear glasses, sitting just by the window doing her needlework and being like very in tune with her work. And in addition to that, like I feel like my grandmother was the one who taught me, like not even taught, but like just reflecting on it now, like I experienced presence with her because she was so present with me, and the feeling that comes up is just like love. So I associate presence with that love. Like if I'm feeling
Oh,
love, then like that is being present, like if that comes up. um and then also like being like what moments was I actually present in, and I thought about like swimming at the pool, like just playing with my siblings or playing with the neighbor kids. Like I was so present when I was at play, like whether that's just like in our backyard or at the pool. And I also have a very fond memory of learning how to ride a bike. Like I was so present in that moment. I was so concentrated. A two-wheeler is what I'm talking about. Like so present on like getting it right. And I feel like that's still me now. Like when I'm immersed in learning something new that I really want to get, I am so present with my learning and with myself and what is going on, that I can tune the other things out because I'm in the moment.
yes. And that's it. Kind of like that's what I'm like when stuff is new and when we're doing something, the needlework itself, if it's like a new design or something, right? Like
Yeah.
people would need a lot of attention.
Yeah.
How about your family? Do you remember,
Mm-hmm.
except your grandmother, anything about
Mm-hmm.
your parents or?
I feel like my parents were most present when it was like time off work, right? Like when we're actually spending time together as a family, like Christmas, like Christmas Day when we're opening presents, and they're actually there with us. But aside from that, I feel like my parents are those type of people who just always want to be doing something, like always have something on their mind, like always need to be running off. And even now, like that's, I still have that experience of my parents. Like they're here, but then they're also gone within a flash. And I think it is because of that inability to just enjoy what's in front of them. Like they're always thinking ahead. And I feel like that is one of the blocks that prevent us from experiencing like that true presence. You're always thinking ahead.
It's also a survival mechanism. It's like
Absolutely.
I recognize this with my brain, and I was just thinking about it. Being here, there's a lot of people who are like slower, as in like they're not that in a hurry, right? They have their
Mm-hmm.
schedule. They know when they need to be at work and everything, but they're just kind of like I feel putter around. And I was
Yeah.
getting agitated. I'm like, what the hell? Just like do this, right? Like, and my brain just works really fast, and then I'm very fast to follow my brain. My
Mm,
family is also very fast. We can be out of the door and like we decide we go somewhere and we can be in 15 minutes already and gone. Where it's like people putter around and get ready and not thinking and not talking about it. And for me, that's just like, they're actually being present there. They're getting ready. We've just gotten very efficient. And I think it's part of a survival mechanism. At least that's
yeah.
kind of what came up for me. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's what you have to do. And especially being an immigrant,
Mm,
I know I had to do this because I had to do, you had to school, you had work, you had to
mm,
do that stuff. So being very efficient and very organized
mm,
and kind of knowing where your things are and getting, you know, y- you might think that, it's
mm.
very, but it does take away from that presence. It does take away from
Yeah.
like connecting and talking about it and all of that. Now, again, we have our own way of connecting and talking about it, and it's just different. It's how different people function.
Yeah.
But I think being immigrants and being very efficient is totally something that's possibly a survival mechanism that we
Yeah.
needed to adapt and figure out because a lot of us had a lot of jobs, had a lot of things to learn, we had to think on our feet really fast. So it's kind of, I think, I know a lot of people that are like that. And I'm like, it's not just an immigrant thing, but I know a lot of immigrants do it this way. So my
Yeah.
interpretation, at least.
Yeah. Like as you're saying that, like what came up for me is like, I think there's like this fear of missing out, like FOMO, like it is something real. And then um, scarcity and lack also came up. Like, oh, there's not going to be enough time. So I have to hurry up and do this thing so I can go, whether that's time or money or whatever the lack source root is, there's something that's missing there. So it's like, okay, rush from one thing to another. And then it's like missing, but the thing is like when because I've lived like that too. It's like you don't even realize that you're missing the present moment. I feel like you
Yeah.
don't even know like what, if you've never experienced it, like you don't even know what you're missing out
Hmm. Yeah. No. So shoot, something came up and it's gone.
on.
Another thing that came up is like there's two things that came up for me when we're
Yeah.
talking about this not being present, and it's
Yeah.
number one, society, how we are programmed by society, especially as women, like kind of like patriarchal societies have programmed us
Mhm.
that our value is and our worth is connected with our productivity, with like well, that's capitalism too.
Absolutely.
Women, like, if we are especially supposed to be serving others and looking a
Yeah.
specific way and everything
Yep.
and doing specific chores, and then our own thinking can create us in that way. I've observed plenty of people and I've observed myself thinking, I need to do everything. I can do everything the best
Yes.
way. I
Yes.
need to do this to appear a specific way. And being a
Yes.
woman and all of that thinking kind of keeps us on that wheel where we feel we need to do it all and we need to do it all right. Like, we need to exercise, we need to eat right, we need to buy the right food, we need to take care of our family,
Yeah.
we need to, the list is
Yeah.
never ending, and that programming. But on the other hand, I think a lot of people I know I was that way. I kept busy because I did not want to sit with my mind. I definitely remember in college, I had never had a free moment in college. And I actually think even working at work, um, my work is intense mentally, but it doesn't mean I work every moment of the day. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a lot of trouble. That was a lot
Mm-hmm.
of problems for me because I could not, that meant my brain would take over. That meant
Mm.
I would kick into the gear. And the reason we avoid our mind and we avoid being present is because our mind is mean to us. I mean, we are mean to ourselves in our head. So we want to escape that. That's kind of like avoiding presence and avoiding rest and avoiding being still because
Mm.
we know stuff that's going to come up is going to hurt.
Yeah.
We're going to hurt our own feelings. So
Yeah.
I remember, I don't even know, I think I was in college. It's like, I just need like shut this mind up. Was
Mm.
literally like, I remember thinking that I was finding ways to shut my mind up because it was just like constant tape of everything I was doing wrong and how I was being and how I was looking and how I was
Wow.
like, and that really kicks you out of being present. And as I said, I've noticed my own change in that I now am meeting a lot of friends here. And yes, I have a lot of stories about it, but I've decided it's like those are my old news stories. And it's like I'm just gonna meet these people as adults. Like I've never met them, right? We're gonna
Yeah.
catch up and everything. And I'm dropping all the stories on purpose. But also my brain does not have that old drama that it did before where I don't compare it myself to them really, where I'm not worried about how I look, where I'm not worried about because that was a big deal, right? Like, you're always worried, oh, do you look good enough? Do you look, and then comparing yourself to others. And it's been a blast meeting all of my old friends and actually hearing them talk about stories. And a lot of times, our memories, we're not going to have the same memory of the same thing
No.
because number one, you're not present the same way. And when you're worried if you're looking good enough and if you are enough and if you're cool and if you're whatever, right? If you're being mean to yourself, you're not there. You're gonna miss stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I know.
Let's let's jump into some tips for
Okay.
like how to be present. Do you have any
Okay.
that come up for you?
I think the tip number one is like
Mhm.
learning how to be nicer to yourself.
Mm, mhm.
It's like that's my tip one because now I mean people know we don't prepare for these really. Like today we literally jumped on and I go, what should we talk about today? Sometimes we'll agree ahead of time, but many
Yeah,
times we don't prepare. So stuff that comes up for us, it's like it's almost as if we're like self-coaching in the moment
it is. It
and
is.
really sharing our insights with you guys and our knowledge
Yeah.
in the moment.
Yep. Yep.
So what came up today is like being nice to yourself for me has made a huge difference.
Mm,
And I think if you want to be more present, you got to be able to be more present with yourself, which means like
yeah. Yes.
you learning how to be nicer to yourself. And
100%.
I've done it through coaching. I've done it through realizing my thoughts, realizing that these are thoughts that I'm thinking. I've changed thoughts. I've done, you know, got myself out of thinking I'm horrible. So it's possible that I'm not maybe the worst human in the world. And,
Hmm.
it's we can talk another episode about thinking and changing our thoughts and all of that stuff. But yeah, for now it's like just learning to recognize your thinking and learning to, and I'm not saying, a lot of people think like, oh, I am such a, going from I'm a horrible person to I'm such a good person or I'm actually nice, or going from I look horrible to I look good. I'm sorry, does not work. I never could
Yeah.
understand why it didn't work until I got into coaching. Our brain is just the dissonance, the belief we have in what we are thinking now, and that new thought that's too positive is too big. Our brain does nothing for us. It doesn't work. We're not gonna believe it. So the latter thoughts that I've learned is just shifting your thinking a little bit, right? Like shifting into maybe I might be that I'm not the worst person. It might be that I don't look that bad. It might be it's possible, that people saying that I look good, that I do look good. Like, shifting a little bit your whole general thinking into the way of like, it might be that I'm not the worst person in your universe.
Mhm.
Shifting a little bit after that. So that's my first step.
Mm, okay. Mine would be learning how to feel safe. And I'm bringing,
Ooh.
like, I feel like because we don't feel safe, that's why we want to escape. That's why we don't want to be in the moment, whether that's with our own family or, in our business or whatever it is. If there's a reason that our body doesn't think that we're safe, we're going to do everything that we can to get out of it, whether that's daydreaming or actually like physically like leaving. And I find that like for me, where I experience this a lot, where I want to like not be there, is sleep. It's really weird, but like that's why I can't sleep sometimes. I'm pretty sure it's because I just don't feel safe to like relax. Like this is my rest time. Like you actually just get to go to sleep and not have your brain turned on. And it's like that's become so habitual for me. And now it's like, okay, let's decondition that. It's perfectly safe to just like sleep right now and not to like think about anything.
Oh my God, you're making me you're not making me cry, but like stuff's coming up.
Stuff's coming
It's
up.
like,
Yeah.
oh shit, that's so good. I have
Mm,
not thought about it that way, but that is so powerful. That is so good, Kua.
good.
It's like, yeah, we need to feel safe.
We
I mean, it's kind of
do.
connected. It's like if we are the ones that are bullying ourselves, of course we want to run away from ourselves. But
Yeah.
also, there's a lot of stuff in our body that, yes, I am a mindfulness coach, but I'm very aware, being a scientist and everything. There's a lot of other stuff in our body
So
that
much.
um that can trigger us. Our nervous system can
So
remember stuff that
much.
our
Yes.
mind
I
is
know.
not capable of
Muscle
remembering.
memory is a real thing, people.
Yeah, and even like,
Yeah.
the whole nervous system, like, how we get scared for something and we're like, we don't even know, and then it's like, oh, that's actually what's happened when you were a kid, and
Mhm.
that's why you're scared, and you're like, don't remember that, but now,
Yeah,
and it's like there is that safety, there is that, like, and also like the conditioning to never
it
stop
is.
working and
Yes.
thinking and moving.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Ooh.
Good. So happy.
Okay.
Okay. I feel like that's a good place to end. Unless you have anything else to add. Because I want people to just like gnaw on that.
I want to know on that. That's so good.
Good.
Thank you. That's such a
You're
wonderful podcast idea.
welcome. Yes, you're welcome. I
Yeah.
hope that you all enjoyed this podcast as well. Any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we will talk with you all next week. Bye.
Bye.